One of the most important lessons I ever learned about the music industry came from a random Access Hollywood clip that I saw in 2008, and I don't think anyone remembers but me. In it, Warner Brothers record executive and American Idol judge Cara DioGuardi is explaining to an eliminated contestant what she looks for when signing an artist.
I want to tell you that I think the things that they probably said to you, which were you didn't blend in, your sound was too identifiable. The reality is that the best thing you can have is that, because when I turn the radio on, I want to know in 3 seconds who it is. And if I can know in 3 seconds, it's money in the bank, girl.
She's totally right. In the pop world that DioGuardi works in, artists like Rihanna or Pitbull might not have Adele-level belting abilities, but their voices are interesting and immediately recognizable. And country music has its own lineup of unique voices, from Hank Williams' Lonesome Yodel to Dolly Parton's Willowy Coo, to Johnny Cash's gravelly baritone.
I fell into a burning ring of fire.
The genre boasts some of the most instantly recognizable and iconic voices in all of music. And as anyone that pays any attention to the independent country music scene could tell you, right now there's a young man from Saskatchewan whose voice is so distinct that he seems poised for a similar kind of legendary status.
Well, Reverend, please come quick. 'Cause I got something to admit.
That is Colter Wall, a brooding cowboy from the prairie lands of Canada, a self-described plain-to-see plainsman with a solemn voice that reminds people of Johnny Cash and a folk style of songwriting reminiscent of Woody Guthrie. Over the last few years, Colter Wall has emerged as one of the most prolific characters in the buzzing country music landscape outside of Nashville, where fan passion for artists like Tyler Childers, Sturgill Simpson, and Cody Jinks is so fervent that you would think more people on Music Row would care. Although there's an upside to being ignored. It's the fact that these artists are producing such great music and touring to such huge crowds and even attracting big celebrity fans, but they're still not walking the red carpet of the CMA Awards, that kinda makes them modern day outlaws. So, who is Colter Wall?
I'm lonesome but happy, rich but I'm broke.
He was born in 1995 in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, a town of about 18,000 people. I don't know much about Canadian provinces, so I texted my Canadian friend Garrett, who co-hosts the Hippies and Cowboys podcast, and he says it's an agricultural province that Canadians joke is so flat you can watch your dog run away there for a week. Colter is the middle of 3 children, and his father, Brad, is a politician that actually served as the premier of Saskatchewan for 2 years. Still, he did not grow up in some kind of highfalutin political life. In interviews, Colter Wall has said that he grew up not just listening to old country, but to folk artists like Bob Dylan and Jack Elliott as well. He told the publication Weld in 2017, "I grew up in a household where Johnny Cash was one of the main things that would be playing in the house. In Dad's truck or Mom's car, it was a lot of country music from that time period. I always gravitated toward older music. I tried to develop my sound around my biggest influences and heroes, and most of those are old cats that are either gone or they're still around, but they're kind of getting up there in age." Colter began playing guitar at age 13 and writing songs a few years later in high school. And I have to imagine going through puberty was a kind of hilarious process for him because, in case you haven't noticed, his voice got, deep.
Well, the corn liquor tastes sweeter in this town.
In 2015, he left university to focus on his music, and it didn't take long for him to capture the attention of the music world after that. His first release, and arguably his most popular to this day, was the EP Imaginary Appalachia, which featured a solemn and sometimes sinister sound with bass drum percussion and chain gang stomps and, yeah, that voice.
When I first met Tom McCann, I was working in the mines.
I remember hearing Colter Wall in passing and just assuming he was a legacy act in his 70s that I'd never heard of or something, but nope, this was an EP that was released when he was 20 years old. He already had that weathered tone, or put into more eloquent terms by a vocal coach reactor here on YouTube.
My God, what a earthy, resonant, gorgeous, lustrous, most incredible, dark vowels. I feel like I have fallen into his mouth, and I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
The raucous Sleeping on the Blacktop became the dark horse hit of that album.
3 dead in a crash on the number 4. 2 witnesses blowing up high.
The whole thing takes you into the hollers of the Smoky Mountains, with bluegrass-tinged murder story songs like Ballad of a Law-Abiding Citizen, and it captures the toughness and certain skepticism toward high society that's present in Appalachia on songs like The Devil Wears a Suit and Tie. Colter caught the attention of music virtuoso Rick Rubin, who quickly signed him to his publishing company. And he went on to record his next 2 albums with Dave Cobb, a producer best known for producing Chris Stapleton's Traveler, but he's also worked with Jason Isbell and Whiskey Myers and Sturgill Simpson, to name a few. Dave Cobb is really good at getting out of the way and letting unique voices shine, and that's definitely what he did on these 2 albums. They're very sparse records, and I think that's appropriate because you're dealing with such a unique voice. Colter can bellow, and he's got a certain bleat in his vibrato, and the Johnny Cash comparisons totally make sense to me. But where Johnny Cash's music felt reckless and wild, Colter's music feels elegant and patient too. There's something particularly Western about it. It's as if he's looking across the plain with a piece of grass in his mouth like a cowboy. And by the way, he is a cowboy. He's actually been working at a cattle ranch during quarantine. And his voice is well suited to these cowboy songs and murder ballads because it has such a natural gravitas. It's like country Zeus or something.
I feel there's even more power to him, so I'd be interested to hear him even releasing more power.
So when he sings about killing Kate McCannon, it feels not just sinister, but somehow magically all-knowing, like the ominous raven in the song. And if you think these murder songs are weird, then I would just say consider how much fun we have with stuff like Goodbye Earl or Two Black Cadillacs by Carrie Underwood. And come to think of it, Carrie Underwood and Colter Wall covering each other is a thing that should totally happen. CMT Crossroads, this is my official request. Storytelling is the factor that kept coming up when I asked people on Instagram to tell me what they think makes Colter Wall so special. People say they love his proper nouns and details, not to mention his poetic turns of phrase. Caroline is a song that feels ghostly as he sings about his love dancing in the sky. Sometimes Colter riffs on actual history on a song like Wild Bill Hickok about an American frontiersman.
He met his fate in Deadwood inside Tom Nuttall's place.
Amidst the game of poker holding aces and 2 eights, when up stepped from behind him the coward Jack McCall, the slug ripped through his auburn hair, poor Wild Bill never saw. In 13 Silver Dollars, he sings about leaving his stash down in Preston, and he doesn't need to explain to you that it's a small town. You just pick that up from the fact that he's passed out in a ditch. I also love the details in Saskatchewan in 1881.
My old plow is frozen to my mule. I've been living off ice cold rainbow stew.
Not only is Rainbow Stew a reference to Merle Haggard, it's also a cowboy dish of just kind of like sausage chili. He's always setting the scene in his songwriting, and it's those type of details that make a story feel rich and alive. Put simply, this is folk music with real life and real details. And although we might not have grown up with someone like Woody Guthrie, there is a Western star for a new generation. And it seems like there's a very intentional effort to emphasize that Western aspect. From the design of his album covers with fonts that can look like wanted posters, to the settings and places of these songs, to his own words. I love Western music, Colter said in 2018. I grew up with it, and as someone from the Northwest, I feel very proud of where I'm from, and the heritage this music represents. Now let's be real, this is not music that's gonna make your lake weekend explode with energy and White Claw.
You think I need girls at my pool party? Nah, I got White Claw.
This is more suited for a beer at a fire, or a glass of whiskey. Fans of period piece filmmaking that like watching actors chew scenery and listening to the creak of a saloon door, they might be fans of Colter. And there's a lot of those people. Musically, he collaborates with some real badasses, from Vincent Neil Emerson to the Dead South to a little guy you may have heard of called Tyler Childers. And he's got other celebrity endorsements too. There's Steve Earle, there's WWE star Brock Lesnar, and Aquaman himself, Jason Momoa, is a huge Colter Wall fan.
I found this guy, Colter Wall, and I was truly inspired. All my dreams came true. He's the real deal. Sometimes you don't want to meet your heroes. Sometimes they're 23-year-olds, even when you're a 40-year-old man. Give it some time.
I sort of enjoy when these super yoked actors are fans of traditional country music. It's kind of like how The Rock just loves Cody Jinks and constantly promotes him. Now I feel like I need to get someone to be a Gabe Lee fan. I feel like we should petition John Cena to just like be obsessed with Gabe Lee. As Colter Wall gets ready to release his third full-length album, it seems like he's starting in a new direction. He's already released the title track, Western Swing and Waltzes, and it feels decidedly more upbeat than some of the other stuff he's put out recently.
It's Western swing and waltzes in Saskatchewan tonight.
It still feels like his very unique perspective coming out of Saskatchewan, but maybe like he's trying to fuse the energy of his first EP with the distinctive Western cowboy feel of his two albums. I imagine that has a lot to do with live shows where it's good to have some things that get people moving around while you're playing. And I'm interested to see if the whole album sounds like that. If so, it'll kind of remind me of what Tyler Childers did with his last album, Country Squire, making something way more accessible and just fun for the average listener. He even said in the album announcement, these songs are punchier than I am. One thing is for certain, I can't wait to listen, and I feel like Colter Wall has a very bright future ahead of him.
They have an identifiable sound. They have a great look. They have star potential, star power.
So if you're a fan of Colter Wall, let me know why in the comments down below. And if there's someone in your life that you really want to convert onto the Colter Wall train, well, send them this video or share it with them. I make country music content on this channel. I try to have fun with it. There's so much good music to be heard. So if you like what you saw, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys with more country content very soon.